there's the main or the master branch. Everything on there is usually prod ready. Then there's the develop branch, where you obviously merge together all the new features and whatever comes in before you put it into the main branch for a release. Then you have these more custom branch names. Everything is usually a feature / branch. You're never wrong with that. That's kind of like, if you don't know how to name it like this. Okay. It depends a bit on where you work, that they have these more specific titles. For example, /bugfix/ is often an alternative to feature / if you do a bug fix. Release is for release branches. That is definitely part of the Git workflow. You will see that later. And hotfix is actually if you make a pull request, but you merge it directly into main. Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
So, welcome to yet another session.
Excited.
And today it is
Git workflows. Yeah. So Git is a tool everybody uses, right? If you're not using that, you should. But it's definitely industry standard, so I don't know. But actually, Cody, I don't know if I ever told that, but a customer of ours, they also do a little bit of software, and they make that with another tool, but I forgot the name. Subversion or so.
Oh, no, not seriously.
Not really. And every time I see this dot files of the subversion thing in the repositories, I just get angry. I just get so angry. And it's even that bad that everybody who uses that copies that in their own local folders and uses it then. So so it's hard.
Yeah, no.
It's really hard. Everybody copies the subversion files.
Maybe we can link it in the description, but there's a good video where Linus Torvalds, I think, at Google displays Git for the first time.
Okay.
It's
I
kind
never
of
watched
like
that.
because of course from the Linux kernel side he had so much pain and stuff like this.
I just love that story that he just had the pain and just built Git by accident, so to speak. So not just with the goal in mind to create a good subversioning tool, but just that he had that pain and that just created Git on the fly.
Yeah, that's how you do it, man. That's really
so cool.
That's because the need is pain. That's the truth,
right,
you know.
Right, yeah.
The behind that is a big need you have, and then it's justified, especially when you're your own customer. If you're not your own customer, things get a bit more difficult.
Right. Yeah.
So Git workflow is mostly actually not directly about Git. A big part of it, of course, the backbone is Git.
Yeah.
But it's mostly about how to work with Git in a sense of the workflow.
Yeah.
We already covered quite a part actually of this in our previous videos. I just want to make it more official now in the later stages as you get more accustomed to things. I mean, you know that there are certain branch names you should follow. There's the main or the master branch. Everything on there is usually prod ready.
Should be.
Then there's the develop branch, where you obviously merge together all the new features and whatever comes in before you put it into the main branch for a release. Then you have these more custom branch names. Everything is usually a feature / branch. You're never wrong with that. That's kind of like, if you don't know how to name it like this. Okay.
Yeah.
It depends a bit on where you work, that they have these more specific titles. For example, /bugfix/ is often an alternative to feature / if you do a bug fix. Release is for release branches. That is definitely part of the Git workflow. You will see that later. And hotfix is actually if you make a pull request, but you merge it directly into main. Okay, that's a hotfix.
Okay. And it's slash after the keyword. It's not dash, because I thought dash is too.
No, slash.
So yeah, always slash. All right, okay.
Yeah, so nothing too special there. Like I said, there are more of these, which we do also, like CI for continuous integration changes and stuff. There is no fixed rule set. Feel free, and even my colleagues and me, we sometimes create branch types, which most definitely will never be used ever again or something. We are a bit free living there, but yeah, usually companies, if you live in a horrifying company, they don't give you any freedom here. If you live in a good company, they kind of tell you roughly how like these things here, and then they say, yeah, okay, if you want to do, I don't know, CI / whatever, you know, the code
So
is more
can.
important than the branch names usually.
Right.
Yeah. Main branch, there are two things to know about this main branch. And the first use case is you have a library or a binary you want to release, which is most of the case with a Python package or a Python CLI or whatever. And there's a second use case is where you have a deployment. A deployment is basically you write a Python API, and after you push onto main, it gets deployed onto servers. Okay? That's the second use case. And depending on both of these, you should do, or treat the main branch differently. Most people don't know because they never did a deployment really of a service before they get their first job. So that's fine. That's maybe you make a DevOps crash course someday or something like it.
Yeah, I would love that.
to do that. It's a horrifying thing, man, if you do DevOps and that stuff in the beginning, because it's so much. Getting a Kubernetes running and stuff like this, and then deploying it, and that's always custom. So the most important thing is, if you have a library or a binary you want to publish or something like it, tag it. So what you basically then do is simply you go on the main branch, and you then simply run git tag -a for annotation, and then I don't know, you can do v or not v, whatever you like, and then give it a version name, and then the commit is tagged. A tag is basically just an alias for that commit hash. And then usually what happens is in the GitHub Enterprise, I think we have that in the workflows. You usually have an event on tag. Actually, here we don't have it, but I think
we had that with publish.
I check it here under the if condition, but you can here actually also specify that it should be triggered on tag events. Just that you know.
Also with the community, or is it just enterprise? Because you mentioned enterprise.
Generally.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Okay, so that means basically when the moment you tag this and you push the tag, similar to a branch git push and then the tag, then the tag event gets spawned in GitHub Enterprise or GitHub, and I mostly work with GitHub Enterprise, so and then stuff. Most people have a different release workflow here, actually, in a different workflow file for just releases, and this is then usually just triggered on this tag event. I did it a bit differently here because the problem is these unit tests and that stuff, I like to run them before it really releases stuff, just to be sure. And it's more safe. It's more safe, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because you could never merge into main without the unit tests being successful, But it's more safe to do stuff before and then have an if condition and then do this stuff on tag. But that's, a different thing. Okay, so that's the point. So you tag, where is it? God damn it. You tag if you have a library or binary. And if you deploy a service, you just merge usually into main. You don't tag, because if you have a bigger company later or something like it, you could do maybe something like a release a day also.
Yeah.
Because which is like nightly builds, and there are a lot of possibilities, how to tailor the process. Like, be aware, release processes are never the same for no product, because there's so many components usually to a larger service. So it's never exactly the same. It's very customized, but there's kind of like, I want to give you now the rough general how it's done. But be aware that there's a lot of variance in how individual companies and services realize it.
Yeah, for example, Twitter, right? They do how many release updates per day? I think 30 or so. So it's kind of...
At the moment, I think none.
Now they're just scratching everything. That's so funny.
They deactivated the two-factor authentication microservice.
Yeah, very aggressive deactivation of services. But I'm hopeful in a few months it will be running again. But yeah, you never know. I don't know. It's very aggressive to just go in there and scratch everything.
I saw a meme where a guy was from Twitter sending the two-factor authentication codes by hand to people.
Well,
where the other person asks like, wait, this is a real person, and the guy answers like, yeah, just check here from Twitter.
Yeah, the memes are quite good.
It's so, this is really how it is, man. You turned on the wrong service. Yeah, and the reason, by the way, also why you don't need a tag usually for these service releases or something is the commit hash is already a tag, basically, so that you already have it basically versioned, and there's no user behind it, so you can just use this very cryptic long commit hash, because it really does not matter to anyone except for yourself, and you have the Git history, so why the fuck should you go for that? But like I said, some still then do official releases with version tags from time to time. It's a bit of like that. But for example, at our service we have in our company also, we just do the same. Just merge into main, and then it gets deployed.
Right.
I also for GitHub, for this case here, I recommend something called the environment feature. It's called. It's under settings. The thing is, environments is basically release environments, and what you can do is you can, for example, say, okay, I have a production environment, and then you can add which branches, and can add specific secrets to it. And the reason is there's a keyword then in the workflow file. I'm not sure if I can show it. Epsilon. Yeah. I love you too, computer. Things jumping around like crazy when the deferred loading of websites sets in. I always dislike that. So here, for example, you can put on a job, you can put here environment production. And for example, if that workflow is triggered, but not on the right branch, it gets killed. And what you do is basically, what you can do is, just that you know it a bit, you can restrict the people who are allowed to work on main and develop maybe. So what happens is those people can never trigger a workflow where the production secrets are inside. And the reason why you want that is actually because imagine I have this repo and I would allow anyone to trigger any workflow on any branch. Then they could simply make an own feature branch, make an own job, print out the secrets here or send them somewhere over the internet to themselves. and then they would have my production secrets. So that's why you usually chop down on these branches, these security critical branches, the main and maybe even the develop branch. Okay.
Yeah, more control.
So just that you know how things go here underneath.
Yeah.
We might get to it in the API part here, but the thing is, to deploy really an API is, you always need server architecture. That's a bit of a pulling up a server architecture is, I think, more work than actually writing an API.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I really appreciate, I won't go too much into it. Develop sometimes has its own develop deployment. I like to have that for some services. So you can kind of already see if things work out, and this saved my butt quite a lot of times. So you definitely, if you have a service and you have it just running on main, you definitely want to have it running on another branch too. Either staging, which is basically before you release it, or develop itself. And develop is, I would definitely say, is way more useful. For feature branches, there are a few things I would really like to emphasize, like don't go for this fix button or something. Like you could name a branch like this 100 times, right? Feature / fix button. Like this is so useless. What's better is usually you have always a ticket system behind, either GitHub issues or whatever.
Yeah.
Just write the ticket number, and then you can write any nonsense anyway behind it, if it's good or not. And
because it's related.
It's related. You could always look into the issue, and then okay, this is what's going on. It's a bit these little things, they not that they are best practices, but they make life a bit easier when you work with stuff. Then blah blah blah, exactly, bug fix. Then come releases, actually. How to do releases? Do you know how to do a release?
Well, I did some releases, but I think I did that on GitHub with the release section. And I did it for the exercise too. So I did a release, but just to
Did you
test also.
use the releases feature, or did you do it from the command line?
I think I did the releases feature.
Okay.
Because because I did not recall that I used the command line in this.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can do a release in a second together.
Okay.
To see how it works.
Yeah, sounds good.
Because there's a bit more to it than actually making a release.
Yeah.
As you will see in a second.
So.
I will show the manual way. Gitflow, it has also a command line tool which helps you do stuff automatically, but I'm a bit of a rusty old guy who likes to customize stuff. One important thing is releases in its simplest form are always the same. But the more complex services or solutions, like binaries and packages, which you will be mostly doing with Python, they are fairly easy. They are all the same. For a service, usually, if there are more components a bit involved, it sounds silly, but I actually start and always write a release guide. And it's so funny. It's like a checklist.
Okay.
And you could just go through it when you do the release. And I have to adapt it from time to time too, because our code base changes. But otherwise, I cannot keep track of how to do releases for more complex things. Like if, for example, you have a service, you need to make sure that when you deploy it, what the other services it connects to, how they are configured, or are the endpoints, and there's a lot of stuff to check sometimes.
Right.
Also, sometimes version increments, like we depend on some other services or libraries, and we want to ensure then always that the right versions are pinned, and we connect to them, and then we check, okay, is that version from that package or service, which is very important to us, is that the right version, or did we make any upgrades there already, and we need to adapt that. So there's a lot to it. Like if releases get more complex, write it down. Like I really recommend that. That's so cool, because now then my colleagues, for example, they come once to me and say, I would also do a release, but they are a bit fearsome. Then you say, okay, let's sit down one time. You go through. I look where they struggle, and then I explain to them. Maybe adapt the guide a bit better even.
Yeah.
And then you do that once, and after that, your colleagues can do a release without a problem and without a sweat, even for something complex. Super. A big secret. Okay. So usually what you do is when you do a release, I think this repo, it doesn't have a develop branch. We need a develop branch. Yeah, of course. Man, this morning is really not mine. Okay, so no one has seen this. It's crazy. So git checkout -b develop. So if we wanted to do a release now, what you would do basically is you don't merge directly into main. You just don't do it, okay? Because you need to check first. So what you would do is you would create a new branch, which is a release branch. And you would simply give it the version name or something. And the release branch is so important because also if you have a deployment sometimes or stuff like this, behind the release branch is actually a staging environment, like another deployment could be there. So where you tested the last time, okay?
Yeah.
So be aware there could be usually three deployments: development deployment, staging deployment for release preparation, and the real production deployment. But the staging is usually, I should not flap in the middle, the wrong finger. The staging environment is usually a bit overkill. I feel like what they usually also do is in the production environment, they just route a part like 2% or 5% of the traffic into the upgraded version and see how good it is. You see that, but there's a DevOps team for doing that. It's not none of your business in the beginning. Okay, so you do this release branch.
Yep.
And this release branch has multiple purposes. So first of all, you create a new PR. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Release. I do here a pull request creation through the command line, just that you're not confused. You can do that in a browser, like here. It's really nice. The CLI offers that. Yeah, we don't have any changes. That's pretty bad. So we cannot make a pull request. But it doesn't matter. We don't need it necessarily. But the important thing is you basically make a release branch pull request onto main branch. And you do that to check again if all the workflows run fine, if everything is okay. One of the things you will always do also, but you can automate that. I have not done it here in this course. Unfortunately, I was automating quite a lot, but not this. What you most definitely want to do is you want to increment the version, for example. That's one of the things you do. Okay.
Yeah.
Another things you do in these release branches is, for example, you do bug fixes. What you don't do usually in a release branch is a feature freeze. You fork it from the develop branch so other people can still merge into develop, but no new features are added. But what you can still do is, if you want to really, as the engineer who does the release, you can still, of course, pull in new features. This one feature you still want, whatever from the other branches. Yeah. But I really don't recommend it. Like, if you start a release, usually the general rule of thumb is do bug fixes. Yeah. Because you want to mature it out a bit more if it's necessary. Hopefully not, but yeah. It happens from time to time. Like, for example, we have a website here behind it and for some products, and you just click through some parts which were new again, and then you figure out, new click combination we had not really tested or didn't catch or something like it,
Yeah.
because you know where you added stuff before, in between the last release, so you know a bit where you can still play around and stuff like this. It's all release branch, everything release branch, what I'm telling you at the moment.
One quick question about that. You do this release branch when you feel ready to do a release, right? But yet you do bug fixes in those release branches. So it is that you have a certainty that it is all right for next release, and then you create a release branch, or do it just with the decision we want to create a release? Now let's fix the features and continue on bug fixing and then do the release.
Yeah, no, it should already be ready. Yeah, it's more or less that in the release branch you still take an additional effort to look at things quickly again. Like I said, most of the time there won't be anything necessary for a Python package, especially for something like a front end or other things where things are. Yeah. Sometimes it sounds silly, but you want to move the button a bit more to the left or something. That would still be okay, stuff like this. Really nothing functional changes.
Yeah. Okay, understood.
Yeah. So that's more or less, yeah. It's not, you should not, if you plan to do bug fixes in a release branch, that's wrong. That's not how you do it.
Okay.
Like do them on the develop, and when you're done with them, you take the release branch. But really good question. And then afterwards, I won't need to show it or something here, but you just merge the pull request. I would recommend, because there you see the pipeline, but you could also do it in a command line. So you basically just check out main. Yeah, today is really not my day. I need to. Is it still changed? Yeah, you check out main. I didn't commit currently. I could have committed that, but I will just reset that. So you check out main, then you do a git merge release /0.2.0. And then afterwards you just do a git push and you're done, basically. Okay. Then it's on main. And what you afterwards do is, of course, you do the git tag. You can do it in a command line. I will go into the website in a second and tell you the difference. You can do, I usually just do this. Some people do the version before. I want to emphasize there are different types of releases, and there is a spec for Python for it, where they tell you what releases you can do. There could be, for example, there's alpha releases, and this is totally fine if you want to do alpha releases. I actually like it that people do that. And they're even on PyPy, but if you run pip install, you don't get them. You just get the latest stable release. But the cool thing is, through PyPy, you can also install alpha releases or beta if you want to. Of course, there's also the beta releases. There's the pre-releases. you get the notion, like wait. And there's the post-releases.
All right. Complete package.
I mean, alpha is pretty clear. Stuff is not stable yet. Features are not stable. Beta is features should be stable, and you're basically more in the bug fixing phase. Pre-releases is kind of like if you have maybe a lot of customers you want to try out if that would work for them. They can try out the pre-releases, and if no one else, you can make it a real release. I see that quite often, actually, pre-releases more than beta releases. Or usually I rather see alpha and pre and stuff, but whatever people feel like, And of course, post-releases is kind of like, okay, maybe there's this one bug or something, and it should be in. Like, it's still the same version, but we really should fix it, so there's no version increment meaningful, so you would just do a post-release. I often had, like, I think I have one version in one of my previous libraries where I had 3 post-releases.
Yeah, that happens. So it's like after hotfixes and stuff, right? So
it's one of those, where not proud of that situation.
Yeah.
It was a bit more delicate thing I did back then. I was really inexperienced. So yeah, just that you know. One thing we can maybe tag. The branch for a change. Yeah. This is the commit message, but we give a crap for that. And you need to push the tag itself too, by the way. It's basically similar to a branch. What now happens is, I think this is the wrong repo. Give me a second. It's in our other Death Star repo, I think, this repo here. Yeah, it is. So you basically see here now there's a tag. So it's here.
Yeah.
Important thing is now, look at this. There's now this one tag under releases too.
Yeah.
But if you look at one of our older projects of the Chia T, for example, which we did back then for a bit of practice.
Yeah.
It looks different, right? There it says 2 releases.
Yeah.
And there it says 1 tags.
Yeah.
So basically it's the same. Okay. What this releases feature here basically does is it's kind of like additional information to the tag. Okay. That's all it is. You can do it if you want to. You cannot do it. And I saw a lot of open source projects, they don't even use this releases feature. They just tag it and they have, I don't know, 30, 50, 60 tags already or something without ever doing this releases once. Okay. Important thing is you can here do, of course, like you did before, pick even an existing tag already. So don't worry if you already did it. Tag it and you wanted to make a release out of it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and then can write down here.
Add
and of course,
info,
wait. So, they have actually, that's interesting. They offered to make release notes automatically. That's really nice that they implemented that actually.
Okay.
So, I will make a save draft quickly. And then you're basically under releases. I didn't release it now yet here, but you also will have some assets.
That's also great,
Here usually just the source code at that time. You can also, during the release, what I like to do sometimes for Python, you can attach the Python wheel files itself. Okay. And you can also automate this process in CI/CD to make this here.
Yeah.
For example, never forget that you can generate, thanks to the automatization pipeline, you can generate the changelog automatically. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so we could include those.
And you're in GitHub Actions, so it's fairly easy for you to create this one here automatically. So what you could do is you could even create this automatically and in here to just dump in our changelog. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And attach the binaries. Sense. So you see there's some, you could do it if you really wanted to. Some people do, usually no one. But you see there's always more you can do. You can automate so much, you can make it so nice and whatever, There's so much flexibility and more tailoring, and be aware that you can spend hundreds of years on this stuff,
Yeah, right.
So I usually just always tell people start small. So just do tags for the moment. And if someone searches for the changelog, you have it anyway from the docs. In the docs itself, it is. So if you have the changelog already in the docs, you don't need to do necessarily releases and stuff,
Yeah.
So that's basically that you understand things a bit. If you screw up, and I had that quite a lot of times, that this tag here, the release pipeline had a mistake or something, or the secret didn't work anymore, and whatever. You need to make some changes or so, because stuff was just flying around. You can still delete. Oh, my dog is waking up. Was scared, like what's going on over there. You can still delete them even here.
Okay.
I forgot the command. I think git push, something with push and delete. But you can delete anything again. So don't worry if you screw up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can
it's
adapt
all-
versions.
You can kill it and do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So that's all I wanna say with this. Yeah, that was the GRT. Yeah, and that's most of it too. When you did the release, important is merge main back into develop. This is why I always like the having a guide, because I tend also to forget it myself.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you did bug fixes maybe in the release branch, right?
Right.
And even a version increase, So
yeah. Update the
It's-
develop branch.
yeah, update the develop branch from the merge.
Yeah.
And then you're ready to go. But just that, people get a bit an understanding how releases are really done. So you usually always go through a release branch. And you could also do it without, but it's good practice to display that.
Yeah.
And just that it's more clear to the people. That's about it. I mean, that's roughly the Git workflow you should need to know about how branches are working and that stuff. There's a lot to cover about Git. It's its own universe, really. It's so complex. You can do incredible things.
Definitely,
Like you can there's a command where you can walk back the Git history and always run a command in the command line, for example, like a test or the single command if you compile the binary. And you can do that until it fails. So you find the commit where stuff was going wrong. It's incredible what you can do with Git.
That's helpful, yeah. Yeah, to get fast where it failed. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like Git is so powerful, but you need to know it, and it's really like
it's also evolving quite a bit, right? So you have to stay updated.
I mean, it's really big. Like if you ever looked into how many commands there are in this thing, it's just super overloaded, Like not overloaded, but it has so many functionalities. Yeah, it's really, really rich. So just want always to emphasize, like, if you expect more Git, like, definitely learn it, but it's like really a lot to learn. It's all sometimes really, really like it. I even don't know myself all of the features, definitely not. And I also usually have this one colleague in the team or something like it who are very proficient in it, and they like you. If you want to do something more difficult or delicate, you usually consult them.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah. I've a few new questions to this topic. When you start out with a project, right, you just have the main branch. Would it be common practice to just create a develop branch first and then do your first initial versioning until you have the first feature set there and then merge into the main? Or is it like the first version you can do on main and everything after that is with the develop branch? How would you suggest
I think
that?
it's more natural. I mean, look, in some of our projects, even our Python course, I didn't have a develop branch even. I think it's more natural to start with the develop branch off. And at some point, usually when the project grows, if it's natural like that you start it small and then at some point a develop branch makes more sense.
All right.
I would still say if you start with people right away, maybe, definitely create first a develop branch or something. Another thing I really, really recommend people is if you have multiple people and that stuff, where is it? You can set a default branch.
Yeah, right.
Here it is. You can set a default branch.
Yes.
And this here, we don't have a develop branch currently pushed.
Yeah.
But if you have one, always make it develop. The reason why I like it is everyone who creates a pull request and doesn't specify the target branch will take the default branch.
Yeah.
And what then happens is people make sometimes accidentally a pull request on main if you have main as a default branch. And then if you are not aware of it, you might merge into main, and you really don't want to do that.
Right.
So if you the moment you have a develop branch you should put the default branch as develop, and that's pretty good. Then you cannot screw that part up.
Yeah, and you can protect main branch as well.
I mean, it costs nothing to do a develop and a main branch separately in the beginning. So I would really say, I would usually make a main branch, then make the develop branch right away.
Yeah.
And then start going,
Okay. Yeah, that's good practice.
But there's no one will kill you because you do stuff differently. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't matter, really.
Yeah, most certainly not for hobby projects in your personal repository.
Even for small stuff at work, people don't. It's the same as like you at home. You wouldn't get angry about something which is really not important.
Right.
And if it's just something small or whatever, some small utility or whatever, it's not that important. It's more important later than when the wheel really spins, that there are releases and stuff, then things should be fine. But in the beginning stuff is always dirty,
Yeah, and it doesn't matter that much.
It doesn't matter that much, no, not really. But it's still a good question, because people are very anxious always about this stuff, and no need to be.
Yeah, you could get the impression that committing to main or just doing that directly is just not a thing to do at all. But I think it's good to just balance that out a little bit.
Also, don't be afraid. If you have a bug in main and you can fix it by just
one line of code,
one line of code or something. Think about you could. You can risk it if you really want to, the situation then better, to just make it directly on main. Usually if that does not succeed, then you should maybe really think about a hotfix brand.
It's just one more commit, right? Then
just one more. Just one more, and then after 2 or 3 you should be already aware, like, okay, it's not gonna happen.
Like with linter fixes. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I think that covers it up pretty nicely. So I think we have that topic covered as well. Thank you guys all for being here, for staying also, and if you like the video, please like, subscribe, and comment on the video. And anything else you want to mention, Cody?
No, thank you very much, and hopefully see you soon.
All right, bye guys.